Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Tonight, the very foundations of American governance are shifting beneath our feet. The air in Washington is thick with uncertainty, as the nation stands at a crossroads that could redefine the balance of power for generations to come. The decisions made in these hallowed halls will ripple far beyond the city limits, touching every corner of the country and reverberating around the world. In a move that has stunned both supporters and critics, the Supreme Court has provisionally allowed the Trump administration to move forward with a sweeping executive order. This order aims to dramatically reduce the federal workforce, signaling a seismic shift in how the government operates. The decision, delivered after hours of intense deliberation, has sent shockwaves through the federal bureaucracy and ignited fierce debate across the political spectrum. This moment is more than just a legal ruling. It redefines the relationship between the presidency and the vast machinery of the state. Millions of Americans, from government workers to everyday citizens, are left holding their breath, wondering what tomorrow will bring. International observers, too, are watching closely, aware that the outcome could reshape global perceptions of American democracy and stability. For federal employees, the news has landed like a thunderclap, a sudden crisis that threatens their livelihoods and the very structure of their work. For the political landscape, it marks a significant victory for a president determined to leave his mark by reshaping the government in his own image. The atmosphere is charged with anxiety, hope, and deep uncertainty. Supporters of the decision hail it as a long overdue reform, arguing that it will streamline government and make it more accountable to the people. Critics, however, warn that this could trigger a constitutional crisis, undermining the independence of the civil service and threatening the checks and balances that have defined American governance for centuries. The streets outside the Supreme Court are filled with passionate voices on both sides, reflecting the deep divisions running through the nation. How did we arrive at this pivotal moment? What forces, legal arguments, and political ambitions have brought us to the edge of such profound change? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of American democracy, for the rule of law, and for the everyday lives of millions? In the chapters ahead, we'll unpack the dramatic events that led to this decision, analyze the court's reasoning in detail, and explore the far-reaching consequences of a ruling that will be debated, studied, and felt for years, if not decades, to come. To truly understand the Supreme Court's recent and controversial action, we must first journey back to a pivotal moment in modern American history, February 11, 2025. This date would soon become a flashpoint in the ongoing debate over the balance of power between the executive branch and the federal bureaucracy. On that day, President Trump, surrounded by top advisors and a flurry of media attention, signed an executive order that would ignite a political and legal firestorm across the nation. The signing ceremony was more than a routine act of governance. It was a bold declaration of intent. The order mandated that every federal agency, from the largest departments to the smallest offices, prepare for substantial workforce reductions. The stated goal was to streamline government operations, cut costs, and eliminate what the administration described as layers of unnecessary bureaucracy that had accumulated over decades. This executive order was not an isolated move. It represented the culmination of a long-held objective within the administration: to dismantle what President Trump and his allies referred to as an entrenched deep state, a network of career officials and civil servants perceived as resistant to the president's agenda. By bypassing many traditional civil service protections, the order granted the president sweeping new authority to reshape the federal workforce. This meant that long-standing job security for government employees was suddenly in jeopardy, and the rules of public service were being rewritten almost overnight. Oversight of this sweeping transformation was handed to the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, with none other than Elon Musk at the helm. Musk's appointment signaled a disruptive private sector approach to government reform, promising innovation, but also raising questions about accountability and transparency. The initial wave of layoffs targeted probationary employees, but the February order dramatically expanded the scope, putting the entire tenured federal workforce on notice. The move sent shockwaves through Washington. setting the stage for a historic confrontation between the executive branch and the institutions of government. The administration's vision was clear: a leaner, more agile government, directly responsive to the president's agenda and less encumbered by tradition. But as the nation would soon discover, this vision would come at a profound cost and spark a constitutional crisis that would reach all the way to the Supreme Court. The executive order's signing triggered immediate legal challenges. A coalition led by the American Federation of Government Employees argued the president lacked authority to dismantle the civil service without Congress. In May, Judge Susan Ilston issued a nationwide injunction, halting the order and providing a temporary reprieve for federal employees. The administration responded with an emergency appeal directly to the Supreme Court, arguing the injunction blocked core executive functions. Meanwhile, a separate case in Boston blocked layoffs at the Department of Education, warning of crippling effects. The administration appealed both rulings, determined to push forward. The fate of the federal workforce now hinged on a series of converging judicial decisions. On July 8, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered its stunning decision. By an 8-1 majority, the justices lifted the nationwide injunction, allowing the administration to proceed with mass layoffs at 21 agencies. The ruling didn't decide the order's ultimate legality, but its immediate effect was monumental. The terse order signaled strong support for executive authority, with even liberal justices Sotomayor and Kagan joining the majority. The White House celebrated a landmark victory, calling it a rebuke to judicial obstruction. Opponents warned the ruling set a dangerous precedent, enabling mass layoffs without congressional approval. The Supreme Court had removed the primary obstacle to a historic restructuring of the U.S. government. The legal and political landscape was transformed overnight. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson stood alone in dissent, warning of irreversible consequences. She argued the court was unleashing a wrecking ball on the federal government before legal questions were settled. Jackson emphasized that once agencies are dismantled and workers fired, the damage can't be undone. Her dissent was a defense of the civil service and a call for judicial responsibility as a check on executive power. Though outnumbered, her words will echo in future debates about the limits of presidential authority. The Supreme Court's ruling detonated a political bomb in Washington. For President Trump, it's a defining victory, empowering him to reshape government and energize his base. For Democrats and watchdogs, it's a catastrophic setback, threatening jobs and the progressive vision of government. The decision will fuel partisan battles, congressional showdowns, and become a rallying cry in upcoming elections. Internationally, allies worry about instability, as mass layoffs threaten institutional knowledge and reliable diplomacy. Adversaries may see an opportunity to exploit U.S. disruption. The ruling has upended the political landscape at home and abroad. The decision's impact is immediate and personal for tens of thousands of federal workers facing job loss. These are scientists, diplomats, and administrators, whose absence will ripple through local economies and government services. Mass layoffs threaten to increase unemployment, reduce consumer spending, and erode institutional expertise. Public sector unions warn of longer wait times for services and weakened enforcement of vital laws. The morale of the remaining workforce is shaken, with job security and professional integrity under threat. The ideal of a merit-based, nonpartisan civil service faces its greatest challenge in a century. The human cost is measured in lost jobs and the potential erosion of a core democratic institution. Legal experts see the ruling as part of a broader Supreme Court trend to rein in lower courts' use of nationwide injunctions. Professor Jonathan Turley notes the decision is less about the layoff order itself and more about curbing judicial overreach. Even liberal justices join the majority, signaling concern over single judges blocking national policies. This shift gives presidents a freer hand to implement controversial policies, making it harder to halt them before their effects are felt. Critics warn this weakens checks on executive power, echoing Justice Jackson's concerns. By the time courts rule on legality, the damage may already be done. As of October 5, 2025, the United States stands at a crossroads, facing a moment of profound uncertainty and transformation. The nation's political landscape is shifting in ways that few could have predicted just a few years ago. The Supreme Court's recent decision has set in motion a series of events that will fundamentally alter the structure and function of American government. This ruling is not just a legal milestone, it's a catalyst for sweeping change, the effects of which are only beginning to be understood. Politically, it's a major victory for the president and the executive branch, granting them unprecedented authority and influence over federal agencies and policy decisions. Supporters see this as a chance to break through gridlock and enact long-promised reforms. Yet economically, the decision threatens jobs and stability for thousands of government workers and contractors. The ripple effects are being felt in communities across the country as uncertainty grows about the future of public services and local economies. Institutionally, the ruling risks the loss of decades of expertise and the erosion of reliable services that millions of Americans depend on every day. The federal workforce, long a source of stability, now faces an era of upheaval and transition. This decision is part of a broader trend that has been shifting power toward the executive branch, raising questions about the balance of power and the future of checks and balances in American democracy. Justice Jackson's powerful dissent serves as a stark reminder of what's at stake, warning of potential irreparable harm to both democracy and the civil service. Her words echo the concerns of many who fear that the very foundations of American governance are being tested. The legal and political battles are far from over. As lawmakers, activists, and citizens grapple with the consequences, the landscape of American governance has been irrevocably changed. The debates and conflicts that follow will shape the nation's direction for years to come. Now, the future of American governance, its size, its power, and its relationship with the people, is the subject of urgent and passionate debate. Every community, every citizen, will feel the impact of the choices made in this pivotal moment. The decisions made in the coming months will not only define the character of the Republic today, but will also echo through generations, shaping what it means to be governed in America for decades to come.